The Coachella Valley has long been the playground of the presidents. It began in 1936 when former President Herbert Hoover came to stay at the Desert Inn. Franklin Roosevelt reportedly stayed at the La Quinta Resort before the war, but nothing equaled the visit of President Dwight David Eisenhower in February of 1954. More than 2,000 people were on hand to greet Ike and his wife Mamie. And by 1961, the former Supreme Allied Commander during World War II retired to El Dorado Country Club in Indian Wells. He played most of the Valley's legendary courses, including Tamarisk and Thunderbird in Rancho Mirage, as well as courses in Indio, Palm Springs, and La Quinta. And the course at the Annenberg Estate was one of his favorites.
He was an occasional visitor out here. He saw enough of it to know that he liked it and wanted to come back here more. But he didn't really set up shop in El Dorado until after he was president. Well, Ike loved it here. After he left the White House, Gettysburg is a pretty cold place in the winter. He loved to play golf. What could be better than coming out here to the desert to spend, he spent several months out here every winter and did until he died in 1969.
Thomas claims that even after helping save the world in the 1940s, guiding the United States through the Cold War in the 1950s, Eisenhower would say the greatest thrill of his life was a hole-in-one on the 17th hole at Seven Lakes Country Club in Palm Springs.
He took a lot of grief for playing golf. People were plenty aware of that he was playing a lot of golf. But his attitude was, tough. I need this to relax. I need to pace myself. It's stupid of me to be watching 5 television sets all the time. He was right about that.
Once, after losing a ball among the grapefruit trees at El Dorado, Ike threatened to fire anyone who served him a grapefruit. Thomas also says that Ike played roughly 800 rounds of golf during his 8-year presidency. He had a standing tee time every Wednesday and Saturday while he was in D.C. Every spring he was in Augusta, Georgia, and of course winter golf here in the desert.
He loved to play, and he played regularly.
Carol Morton has been selling property at El Dorado since 1959. She says when the former president was in the desert, he didn't really get that much more attention than anybody else, and that was just fine with Ike.
He was out on the driving range and hitting golf balls, and there were just people milling around, not looking at him at all. And a lady came up to me. She wanted to know who the people were that were standing around because there were security guards. And I said, well, that's the president. And she said, of what company?
President Eisenhower is also a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame, one of a handful of non-pros to be inducted. His impact on golf in the 1950s is credited for a surge in interest. Prior to Eisenhower and, of course, Bob Hope, golf was mostly a sleepy country club game enjoyed by only a small fraction of Americans. Ike was a big part of changing that, and in turn, changing forever the Coachella Valley.